parenting principles and parenting styles. I'll give you examples of parenting. I'm going to give you illustrations on parenting. So most welcome. Please have a notebook, have a pen ready, sharpen your pencils, dust your book. It is time for us to learn about parenting in this century. Karibuni sana. Magi, karibu sana. Lilian, karibu sana. Karibuni sana. Now, let me begin here. So I'm ready to go now. Let me begin here. And if you get an important point, just put it down on the comment so that even those who shall come after us, they will be able to follow us. So you can write on the comment the points that I'm going to give. Now, we are learning about principles of parenting. Let me begin here. There is no perfect parent. Some of us who are watching, sometimes as a parent, you may feel as if you are failed. There is no perfect parent. There is no perfect parenting. Remember, Adam and Eve were created by the very hands of God. The difference between Adam and us is very simple. We were born. Adam and Eve were not born. They were created with the very hands of God. Yet, the first parent, our first parents who knew no sin, they raised a son. And this son ended up becoming a murderer. His name was Cain. Cain killed his brother Abel. So they were left with a dead son and a son who became a murderer. There is no perfect parenting. If Adam, who was created in the very image, in the very likeness of God, who was shaped and molded by the very hands of God, brought up a murderer, then there's no perfect parenting. That's great. Maggie, that's great. There's no perfect parent. I want to say this, we parent our children by the grace of God. We parent our children by the grace of God. There's no perfect parent. You may feel as if as a parent you failed somewhere. You never failed. You tried. You never failed. You tried. I've been married for the last 18 years. Our marriage, God has blessed us with 3 biological children. In fact, our firstborn is 4th year this year. In fact, if it's not for COVID, he could have graduated this year. God has blessed our marriage with 3 biological children, and we have adopted 2 children. I have 2 daughters, 1 adopted. I have 3 sons, 1 adopted. And I can tell you, there's no perfect parent. We perfect by the grace of God. So get that in your mind. We parent our children by the grace of God. The second thing we need as parents is wisdom. Wisdom on how to parent our children. So we are here to get the wisdom. We are here to get the knowledge. We are here to get the insight. Before even I go on, I want you to understand that there's no formula of parenting. We talk about principles, we talk about styles of parenting, we give great examples on great parents, but the truth is, there's no formula of parenting. There's no parenting formula. Why? Every child is unique. Every child is autonomous. Every child is different. Every child is special. Our sons, our daughters are very different. So there's nothing like a formula for parenting. So I'm not here to give you formulas. I'm not here to give you ABCD of parenting. So one wise man said that before I got my 5 children, I had 5 formulas of parenting. I had 5 principles of parenting. Now, I have 5 children with no theory. I have 5 children and all my theories of parenting, I don't have even one. What did he mean? He meant we may think we know how to bring up our children, but we don't know. So there's no formula, there's no theory of parenting. All that we need is to get wisdom from God. Because every child is different, special. So all our children are different. All our children are different. And so I want to repeat this because I was interrupted by a call, and maybe Bernard can tell me how to put off this course as we go live, because this course can become a problem. Karibuni sana Wabogo, karibu sana Magi, karibu sana Redia, karibuni sana. Tunasema there's no formula, there's no theory of parenting. For you to parent your child, what you need is wisdom. Wisdom from God. Now, let me give you some few principles that will guide you. Some few principles that will help you even as you pray for wisdom from God. Na sasa nimeanza. Hiyo ilikuwa what you used to call matemomo horo. Mashomomo matemomo horo. Hiyo ilikuwa mtahasari wa habari. Here we go. These are the parenting principles that can guide you even as you pray for your child. 1. Parenting should be purpose driven. I repeat again. Parenting should be purpose driven. Meaning, as a parent, pray for God's wisdom to know the purpose of your child. God gave you that son for a purpose. God gave you that daughter for a purpose. There is a reason. Your child has an assignment on earth. And that is why your parenting should be purpose driven. Pray that you will discern God's purpose for your child. Why is that important? When you discover the purpose of God for your child, you will be able to pray in line with that purpose. Because parenting should be purpose driven. 2, parenting should be prayer enabled. Parenting should be purpose driven. 2, parenting should be prayer driven. For you to pray for your child effectively, then it means you must discover God's purpose for your child. So they tell us that when a man knows a woman, I'm trying to look for a better word, so hope you understand my language. Simply, when a man have intimacy with a woman, the body of a man releases what we call seed, or what we call DNA. or what we call sperm. And the body of a man produces more than 1 million seed at a go. There is a race, the seed races, a marathon sprint to the end point. The end point is the egg. The first seed, the first sperm to touch the egg, fertilizes the egg, and conception happens. The other, more than 1 million seed, they withdraw. One wins. Just imagine God in heaven is looking down, and God can see the 1 million possibilities racing towards the end point, and God chooses one. Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 5. Before you are formed in your mother's womb, I knew you, and had chosen you and set you apart to be a prophet to the nations. God was telling Jeremiah, I knew you before you are formed in your mother's womb. I had chosen you. I had set you apart. So when these 1 million possibilities are running towards the finishing point, God chooses one. Guess what? That one that won was you. That one that won was your son, was your daughter. So whoever is listening to me, we don't have mistakes as far as our children are concerned. There is no child who is a mistake. Every child is a miracle. So we have a bugger point for today. There is no child who is a mistake. All our children are miracles. There is no child who is on earth by chance. Every child was chosen. You don't have that child by chance. No. You have that child by God's choice. God chose that child for you. And I always encourage people and I tell them, you are the seed that won. You are the sperm that won. You won before you are born. I hope my English is clear. You won, ulishinda. You won before you are born. So every child is a winner. Every child is a victor. Your son is a success story in the waiting. Please, I hope you are getting my points. Your son is a success story in the waiting. Your son won before your son was born. Your daughter won before your daughter was born. In Psalms 139, David says that you knit me together in my mother's womb. You saw me in a sacred place. All my days were written in your book before one came to be. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That is Psalms 139. You can start from verse 12 all the way to verse 16. David talks about God, you knit me together. Meaning, if your son was born short or tall, slim, brown or yellow or white, God knit together the DNA of your child. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Just like a woman knits that cloth. God knit your DNA. God knit every gene. God knit your height, your breadth, your width. God knit your color. God knit everything in your child. So no child is a mistake. Your son is a success story in the waiting. This is what we say in parenting. We don't have illegitimate children. There is nothing like illegitimate children. We only have ignorant, irresponsible parents. I need to repeat that. We don't have illegitimate children. We only have ignorant, irresponsible parents. What does that mean? Your child was given to you by God. It's only the parent who is ignorant on how to raise that child. There's no illegitimate child. It means if you never planned for the conception of your child, God knew you will not plan, so God planned. God planned that child. He knew you will not plan. Kwa hivyo kwa Kiswahili hakuna mtoto wa makosa. Hakuna mtoto wa makosa. Mungu aliona ya kwamba hutapanga, akakupangia. So God pre-planned. God pre-planned. Hakuna mtoto wa makosa. So it begins by we parents, let us accept our children. Why? We have women who are raped, they conceived, and their children were born. And so this child is a reminder of what you went through. Some of you conceived your children and the father left. We have these fathers who work with Kenya Seed Company. These fathers who work with Kenya Seed Company, they sow seeds from Mombasa to Maraba. They sow seed all the way from Mombasa to Maraba. And then they neglect, abandon, and forget their children. And sometimes unaona huo mtoto, unakumbuka what happened. And sometimes you feel the hatred, the rejection going from you to your child. I want you to know that that child is innocent. That child is a blessing from God. And as early as now, begin to accept your children. Begin to accept your child despite the circumstances that brought forth the conception. Despite what happened the first year. Despite what happened the first 5 years. Begin to accept your child. Because it is impossible to love your child if you still live in the past. So begin to accept your child as a blessing from God. In fact, even before I go on, let me say, we don't own our children. That's another important point I want you to know. We don't own our children. We are stewards. We are managers. We are overseers of our children. We don't own our children. In fact, God gave us our children so that we can manage them, oversee, parent them on his behalf. Jaribu kucheza na mtoto, utajua mtoto si wako. In fact, your child belongs to God. 2, your child belongs to the government mpaka afike 18 years. 3, your child belongs now to you. You don't own that child you only manage, parent, oversee that child on behalf of God. So if kusema mtoto wangu, maybe we need to change that language. Mtoto ni wa Mungu. You are only managing the child on God's behalf. Now, because the child belongs to God, your parenting must be purpose-driven. And your parenting must be prayer-driven. You need to pray over your child. Parenting must be prophetic. What do I mean when I say parenting must be prophetic? As you pray for your child, you need to prophesy great things over your son. Prophesy great things over your daughter. It doesn't matter what grade your child brings at home. Doesn't matter the physical challenges your child is facing. Prophesy great things over your child. I remember reading many years ago, I read this book by Ben Carson, Think Big. And Ben Carson says in that book that he used to lift up his hand in class and every people in that class could laugh because they knew Ben Carson would give an extremely opposite wrong answer. And Ben Carson grew up with a lot of low self-esteem. But when he could go to his mother, the mother could tell the son, "My son, you are bright." Now remember, the son is crying. "My son, you are bright. My son, you can make it." And the son believed the words of the mother. Ben Carson became the first doctor, the first surgeon to operate 2 Siamese twins successfully. The mother raised the doctor through words, through prophetic words. "My son, you are bright. My son, you are great." Your parenting should be prophetic. Prophesy great things over your child, despite the grade, despite the physical challenges, despite what you are going through. Prophesy great things over your child. Now, you remember the story of Benjamin. I want to give you the original name of Benjamin. Benjamin was delivered by a beautiful lady by the name Rachel. And Rachel died in childbirth. Before Rachel died, Rachel called her son Ben-Oni. Ben-Oni. Ben-Oni is a Hebrew word for the son of my sorrow. Meaning, you have caused me pain and sorrow and trouble until I have died. So you are the son of my sorrow. When the father came that evening, akaambiwa, "We have good news and you have bad news. Unataka tuanze na story gani?" Akasema, "Start with the bad news." The bad news is Rachel died in childbirth. What are the good news? You have a son. The mother called him Ben-Oni. Jacob said, "No. My son can never be called son of sorrow. My son cannot be called son of trouble, son of pain." He changed the name from Ben-Oni to Benjamin. So nobody in this place remembers Ben-Oni, but all of us knows Benjamin. Benjamin means the son of my right hand. The son of my right hand. Benjamin means the son of my strength. So Benjamin was turned from the son of sorrow to the son of strength. Guess what? Because of that prophetic declaration by Jacob, Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin, produced the first king of Israel. This was the smallest tribe in Israel, but it produced the first king of Israel by the name Saul, King Saul. This tribe of Benjamin produced the first apostle in the New Testament, Apostle Paul. Paul was called Saul, then called Paul. Paul wrote 3/4 of the New Testament. He came from the tribe of Benjamin. This tribe of Benjamin became a tribe of warriors. Watu wa vita. They were sharpshooters. Ikiwa kulikuwa na GSU siku hizo, tribe ya Benjamin ikaingia GSU wote. They were sharpshooters. How comes this small tribe produced the first king in the Old Testament and the first apostle in the New Testament? How comes this tribe all of them became warriors? It was because their ancestor, their father said, "You be the son of my power. You be my son of strength. You be a son of my right hand." That is the power of prophetic declaration. As a parent, unaambia watoto wako nini? Some of us, we can remember what our parents said about us. Let us pause for a moment. Mama yako alikuwa anakuita nani when you are growing up? What did your father say about you when you are growing up? What did your teacher say about you when you are growing up? Some of us, we are struggling because we are fighting negativity. We are fighting negative words, negative confessions that were spoken against us. Tungekuwa bali isipokuwa some negative confessions, some negative proclamations were done against us. But it's not right. God can restore the wasted years. God can deliver us. We can be set free from those negative words that were spoken against us by our guardians, by the people who brought us up. Parenting must be prophetic. Let me give you an interesting story I had some few years ago. I want you to listen to this story and see the power of words over your child. One of the presidents of the US was brought up by his grandmother. The grandmother was a prayerful intercessor, a prayerful warrior. When the grandmother was dying, he called the son. Akamwekelea mikono. Akamwambia, akaprophesy. The grandmother prophesied. And this is what the grandmother told the president. Remember this is a young boy who is in primary school. Akamwambia, my son, in the future, God will put you in a place of power in the American government. At that time, when God puts you in power, the people of God, the Israelites, will be in trouble. Help them. In your place of power, help them. So this is what happened. The young boy grew and ended up becoming the president of the US. And in 1967, the 6-Day War broke out. Guess what? The Prime Minister of Israel called the President of America and asked for help. The president remembered the words of his grandmother. And the president supported Israel. Just imagine the power of prophetic words. It is important to speak positively over your child. Some of us, we could be very bright. We are supposed to be very bright. To an extent, we are able to be brighter and we can see tomorrow. But the problem is we were called stupid. We were called foolish. We were called good for nothing. We were called we are mad, we are crazy. We were called useless. Now, because you are a parent, please, I want to challenge you. Begin to reverse every negative word you have ever spoken over your child and declare great things of your child. Now, let us summarize what I was saying. Your parenting must be purpose-driven, know God's purpose for your child. Your parenting must be prayer-enabled, pray for your child. And your parenting must be prophetic, speak good things over your child. My next point, parenting must be value-driven. Your parenting must be value-driven. The most important thing they tell us is not what you leave for your children. The most important thing is what you leave in your children. I repeat that again. Your parenting must be value-driven. What kind of values are you instilling in your son, in your daughter? The most important thing is not what you leave for your children. The most important thing is what you leave in your children. A survey was done in the US, and the conclusion of that survey was 90% of sons and daughters who receive inheritance from their fathers and their mothers, they end up wasting that inheritance. Inheritance left by fathers and mothers don't benefit many. Why? Wazazi walituashia mali na pesa na nyumba na plots na ng'ombe na buzi. Lakini they never taught us the values they developed to get that wealth. The values of honesty, the values of hard work, the values of transparency, the values of respect, the values of compassion, the values of kindness, the values of generosity. So we were not taught values, we were just given property and money. Parenting must be value-driven. Funza mtoto wako to respect elders. Funza mtoto wako to honor authority. Teach your child respect. Funza mtoto wako kusalimia watu wengine kwa heshima. Funza mtoto wako kufanya kazi kwa bidii. Teach honesty. Teach hard work. Teach respect. What you leave in your children is more important than what you leave for your children. Mtoto akipata values, hata akose anything else, what will happen is, despite lack of wealth, because of the values, the child will get the wealth back. Hata akipoteza kazi, the child will get another job because alikuwa na enough values. We are raising a generation that is very educated, but character hakuna kitu. We are raising a generation that is very enlightened, very educated, very informed, technologically advanced, but kwa moyo hakuna kitu. So it is important to instill the right values in your children. Parenting must be value-driven. My next point, parenting must be future focused. That is my last point today. And for the next few minutes, let's focus on that. Parenting must be future focused. As you parent your child, think about the future. Think about tomorrow. They tell us that home is a place where we train our children to live home. Home is a place where we train our children to live home. You must train your son, your daughter to leave your nest. So I had one person write on Facebook, and she was writing about her mother, and that's what she said. This lady said, "Mom, you died. You taught me everything that I know. But one thing you never taught me. You never taught me how to live without you." The lady said, "You taught me everything, but one thing you never taught me. You never taught me how to live without you." We must train our children to leave the nest. We must train our children to live without us. Tufunze watoto wetu vile wataishi even in our absence, because we are not immortal. We shall die. Mtoto wako ataishi kivipi na wewe huko? Are you teaching your child to live without you? It is important we as parents to understand. Huyo mtoto ambaye unaita mtoto hata kuwa mtoto milele. Siku moja atakuasha. Ataenda university peke yake, ataenda Ulaya akae peke yake, ataenda Australia akae peke yake. Siku moja utaenda as a uni, you'll be called upstairs. Your child will be left alone. Now, what kind of a child will that child be in your absence? It will all be determined by the training, the teaching you gave that child. Now, think about this. One day your son will become a father. Our parenting must be future focused. One day your son will become a father to somebody. What kind of father will he be? One day your daughter will become a mother. What kind of a mother would your child be? One day your child will become a boss, an employer, a business person. What kind of an employer would your child be? One day your child will become a lawyer, a doctor. And I hope you people are saying amen. The question is, what kind of a lawyer or doctor will he or she be? Atakuwa mtu wa kupigana? Atakuwa mtu wa kutusiana? Your parenting must be future focused. And it begins now. Teach your daughter to cook. Hebu tuongea hapo dakika moja. Your daughter is in Form 3 and she doesn't know how to cook ugali. So siku moja ataolewa. Watakuwa wakikula chips kwa mkahawa mpaka Yesu arudi. Na akiolewa na mbaruya na wanapenda ugali. Mtoto wako anajua kupika chapati. Na akiolewa na wakikuna vile tunapenda chapati. Anajua kupika samaki. Na akiolewa na Mjaruo na vile wanapenda samaki. As you train your child, think about the future. Now we are in the COVID season, hakuna shule. Let your child know kukamua ng'ombe. Mtoto wako ajue kupika pizza, kupika chips, kupika ugali, because you not eat in the hotel forever. Let your son understand the basics, kama za kulipia the fence, kukamua ng'ombe. Train, teach your child on physical things about life. Let them know knitting. Let them sew their own buttons. Some of our children wako class 8, they can't even make their bed. If your son cannot make his bed, how can that son make it in life in the future? Let me ask that question again. Iko mtoto wako hajui kutengeneza kitanda, ni kutengeneza ama ni kutandika? If your child cannot make his bed, her bed, how do you expect that child to make it in life in the future? So your parenting must be future focused. Let your child know as early as now the most important things about life, the values. Let your child learn values. Let your child learn to work with his or her own hands because of the future. And the future is coming. One thing I'll tell you, parents, let us stop doing things for our children. Please, tuwache kufanyia kazi watoto wetu. Let us allow children to do things on their own. Wacha apike na wewe usupervise. Wacha atengeneze nyumba, arrange furniture za nyumba. Wacha afanye homework yake. Wacha stop spoon feeding. Because your parenting must be future focused. I want to give us 1 minute. If you have a question, please, you can put your question on the comments. I'll read your question, and then maybe as I add, I can answer your question. Before you answer the questions, let us summarize what we have learned today. Parenting must be purpose-driven. Know the purpose of your child. Parenting should be prayer-enabled. Pray for your child. Parenting must be prophetic. Declare great things over your child. Parenting must be value-driven. Instill the right values in your child. And parenting should be future-focused. Think about the future of your child. I've talked so much about our children. Can I talk to you as a parent? It is important for you to understand as a parent that we parent, most of us parent the way we were parented. Most of us read the way we were read. Most of us, we father and mother our children the way we were fathered and mothered. Sometimes naongeaga kwa nyumba yangu, hey, nasikia, that is, si mimi nimeongea. That is my mother speaking. Because my mother could get angry. Sometimes I get angry. Now, that anger si yangu. That is my mother speaking to my children. What do I want to say? I want to say this. I want to say that we as parents, we must heal first. We as parents, we must be made whole first. We must overcome our anger first. We must overcome the bitterness we feel towards our parents who brought us up. Why? Unless we do that, healed parents will produce healed children. If the parent is whole, we shall produce whole children. If we parents have disorders, we are bowed, we are addicted to things, then we shall bring up children who are bowed, who are addicted. We shall bring up our children the way we were brought up. So it begins with us. Let's pray that God will heal us. Let's pray, we as parents, that God will make us whole. Because if you are in pain because of your past, you are going to project that pain to your son, to your daughter. If you are angry and bitter and resentful because of your wife, because of your husband, because of your mother, because of your father, because of your foster parents, because of the people who brought you up, you are going to release the same pain, the same anger, the same bitterness to your children. So healing begins with us. Why? My last point today. Na unajua sisi tunamalizaga mara 3. So nimemaliza mara ngapi? So hii ni ya pili. Parenting is through role modeling. Parenting is through role modeling. Children are very good in recording what we are saying and what we are doing. Parenting is by example. And children, they don't follow our advice. Children follow our example. Children run by observing us. They are very good in recording, but they are very poor in interpreting. A great psychologist by the name David Simmons said that children are very good recorders, but they are very poor interpreters. They are going to record all that you say, but they are going to interpret it the wrong way. For example, unaweza ambia mtoto wako, you are stupid. That child will interpret it the wrong way. That child will not interpret that you are angry. That child will interpret that I'm not needed, I am useless, I am good for nothing, it was better that I was never born. The child will interpret whatever you said wrongly. That is why we must be great examples, good role models for our children. So a sociologist by the name Albert Bandura said, there are 4 levels. There are 4 steps of running. They say children run by observation. That's the first stage. Then the second stage of running is retention. The third stage of running is by imitation. And the fourth stage of running is replication. Let me make it simple for you. We run through observation, kuona. Whatever we observe, we retain, retention. After we retain, then we begin to imitate. The picture we saw, we begin to imitate it. And then we become, replication, we become. People run by observation, then retention, then imitation, then replication, becoming. As a parent, know that your child is observing you. Hata vile unakula, your child is observing you. The way you talk, the way you express yourself, the way you manage your anger, your child is observing you. The way you treat your wife, the way you treat your husband, the way you treat your neighbors, what you talk about on the phone, your child is observing you. Are you generous to your neighbors? Wakikuja, unawaambia, come in, take a cup of tea. That child is running generosity from you. They run through observation, they retain it in their memory, and then they will begin to imitate the pictures they saw, and then they are going to become it. That is why don't quarrel in front of your children. Quarrel in the bedroom. And quarrel muted. Do you know what is quarrel muted? Quarrel in vibration mood. You quarrel in vibration mood, whereby you don't expose your nakedness, your anger to your child, because that child is running from you. Children run through observation, then they retain, then they imitate, and then they replicate. They become. Some of us, we rant some nasty words from our parents, from our guardians. They used to abuse and insult others, so we rant it from them. Sometimes I feel as if when I'm talking, my parent is talking through me, because nasema even if your mama yako alikuwa anaambia neighbor. So you see, so that's why deliverance begins with us. That's why we tell parents, stop smoking in front of your children. Why? If you smoke in front of your children, yes, Liz, you quarrel in vibration mode. Yeah, you quarrel, in vibration mode. When you smoke before your children become secondary smokers. They become secondary smokers. They become passive smokers. 2, one day, that child will imitate you. If you listen to me and you drink, so get saved. But before you get saved, stop drinking in front of your children. They are observing, and they shall imitate it one day, and they shall become what they saw. So sometimes tunaenda na kijana yangu kwa supermarket. My son namwambia, we take that chocolate for your mother. So anachukua, anaweka kwa kikapu, apelekee mama yake. So one time I went to the supermarket, I forgot. So my son akachukua ile kubwa, akasema, this is for my mother. Do you know what I'm doing? This is what I'm doing. One day, my son will have his own family. I am teaching him, I am training him never to go home empty-handed. I'm teaching my son to respect his future wife. That is why your parenting must be future focused. And they tell us the best way to love your child is to love the mother. So let us stop quarreling in front of our children. Let us stop abusive words in front of our children. Let us become good role models for our children. My time is gone, and unless there is a question, I want to end this session. I want to encourage all of us to know that we are stewards of our children. Please steward that child in the right direction. This is what Psalms 107 says, that children are our arrows in our quivers. If your child is your arrow, then it means you parent, you are the anchor. I hope I pronounce it the right way. You as a parent, you are the one who holds the arrow. So it is a parent who determines the direction of the child. Please determine the direction of your child. Let your child face in the right direction. These are your arrows. If they go up, you directed your children towards that direction. If they go down, you directed your children towards that direction. Children are our arrows. We are the one who determines the direction of our children. Another illustration of children. Children are our seed. We need to sow that seed in the right soil. We need to water that seed. We need to weed out the wrong things from that seed. We need to protect that plant so that we can have fruit. So you have your children. They carry fruit for you. But your fruit, the fruit will be realized if you sow the seed in the right soil, if you water the seed, if you protect the plant, if you weed out the wrong things from the plant, you shall have the fruit in the future. Those are enough lessons for today. I'm waiting for one question, then I will end with a word of prayer. So you can write down the question in the comments. And please thank you for all of us who have joined in. Liz, asante sana. Mary Motiso, asanteni sana. I can see so many names on my screen. Please, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have written enough notes. Please go through them, share with them with your fellow parents, share it on your timeline. Let us bless other parents because we are bringing up great children in the coming future. Let's sow the right seeds in our children. Let us protect our seed. Let us direct these arrows in the right direction.